What's up, guys, and welcome to the weekly Q&A. Real quick before questions, we need to send a huge thank you and shout out to Maxwell Patrickin, who joined our Patreon at the Jedi Council level, which is just so generous. So thank you, Maxwell. That means the world to us.
Our first question comes from Ola Flatterud, who asks if we think the canon Old Republic era will share much in common with the Legends era. Do we want it to? What characters or events do we want to see return?
Well, what we know so far already does share some in common. Like, we know that the Sith battled the Jedi, we know about the 100-Year Darkness, we know about the Mandalorian Wars. So yeah, I think that there are definitely going to be some similarities. And I kind of want there to be. Yeah. I don't think that it has to follow everything to the letter, but yeah, I do want there to be some similarities.
I mean, with mention of Darth Bane, I think that they should keep his story in and definitely tell it.
Yeah, I really want them to, like, I have mixed feelings on that because I love the Darth Bane trilogy of books so much that, like, I don't know how they're going to handle that. I don't think that a writer necessarily wants to do, like, a one-for-one adaptation, but maybe they would get Drew Karpyshyn to straight up write the movies for it or something like that, and that might be a little more enticing for him. Characters like Darth Revan, I still want him to come back, and I think that we've seen that it can work with characters like Thrawn.
Yeah.
Again, I don't know that they're going to do like just a straight up adaptation of his story, or they may never tell it. Like, there could just be mention of the Jedi Civil War and this Jedi turned Sith turned Jedi or something, which I'd want a little more than that, but...
Yeah, I think because they mentioned the Mandalorian War and, like, Tar Vizsla in previous shows, I think that could be a thing that they make.
I think that we're going to see the Mandalorian Wars at some point. Again, I don't think it's going to be a direct adaptation. I mean, we already saw Malachor in Star Wars Rebels, and that was like a big Jedi-Sith thing, and in KOTOR, it was a Jedi-Mandalorian thing. So... there's definitely going to be differences, but yeah, I think that exploring the Mandalorian Wars would be super cool, and I want to see it happen.
Cool.
Super cool.
Buddy Jr. 124 wants to know if we think Qui-Gon would have served as a Jedi General during the Clone Wars if Maul hadn't killed him.
I don't know. I think this is one of those things that we're never going to know because that's just a big what if.
Yeah.
My gut tells me no. I think he would not have fought in the Clone Wars.
I agree. I think he would have another important role, but more behind the scenes, maybe training. I don't know.
Yeah,
he would have trained Anakin, I guess.
Yeah, that's the thing that I think. I hadn't considered that, because in my mind I was like, his Age of Republic comic was very much him learning that violence is not the way. And, I mean, he's willing to pull out his lightsaber if he has to defend himself or others, but it's not, like, his go-to.
Yeah.
So I don't think he would have been on board with the Jedi becoming generals. And in my mind, I was like, he may have just left the order. But with Anakin around, I think you might be right. Or maybe he would have taken Anakin and trained him elsewhere.
That's what I was going to say. Like, first of all, imagine the change of Anakin's story if he had been trained by Qui-Gon. And yeah, I could see the two of them just leaving the Jedi Order and him training him, like, on his own.
Yeah, it's just, there's so many things I think that hinge on Qui-Gon, which is why I like the character so much. Can't wait for Master and Apprentice. And now this Jedi Lost, the Dooku story, Qui-Gon's going to be in that. So yeah, I'm looking forward to learning even more about him. I still view him as one of, like, the model Jedi. So
I think he would have saved Shmi too.
Oh yeah, there was definitely a little something going on there.
They had a thing.
Did you see? Yeah. Ooh, sparks flying.
Colby Cowherd asks for our recommendations regarding scheduling for Celebration. How much time do we recommend leaving open for exploring and non-panel things? It's tricky, especially with the lotteries, since you're not going to know which panels you're actually going to get to go to or not. But I don't know, especially if it's your first time, I would leave a good chunk of time open to explore just all the stuff there is to do and just to people watch.
Yeah, if you're talking about like, okay, I have this panel that ends at 2:15 and this next one that starts at 3:30 and there's only like 15 minutes to get there, I wouldn't, I don't know, recommend doing that, because even some of the fan run panels fill up.
Mm-hmm.
So you might need to like be in line for even the smaller panels. I think that we went to the Jedi Council panel in 2017 and we were in line for an hour before we got into that, and it filled up. So I think that you're going to have like some time before the panels that you want to see.
Well, now they have that like light speed.
I guess that's true. Does that work for smaller panels as well?
I think so.
Okay.
I think you can register to be in line for a panel.
Guess who hasn't read the FAQ yet?
I skimmed it. But yeah, and also now that all the maps are out, you can kind of look and see which stage the panels are that you want to go to, and like, okay, this stage might be really far away from this stage, so maybe don't try to go to those two panels back to back.
Yeah. It does kind of throw a wrench in things, I guess, with the light speed thing and not knowing what you are and aren't going to get into. I kind of feel like you don't need to schedule your exploration time, because I think it's just going to happen.
Yeah.
Like, you might not get into a panel, and then instead of sulking about it, which, like, we did that 2 years ago, like, just go explore, because it'll immediately turn your mood around. Mm-hmm. You're going to have fun, like, looking through the vendors, looking at the exhibits, just meeting and talking to people.
Yeah.
So,
and, like, the big panels are going to be streaming.
Yeah.
So you can just stand around and watch those with other people.
Yeah, if they do it like they did in 17, you've got like the in the room panel, then they streamed it to 2 other large rooms. Mm-hmm. And if you didn't get into any of those, they were still streaming it to like the Star Wars show stage.
Yeah.
So you're going to be able to watch it with people pretty much no matter what.
Yeah. We would have gone to the second stage screening of the 40th anniversary panel that we didn't get into, even though we were told we were going to.
And we waited in line on the concrete all night.
Yeah, we would have gone, but we were so just like disappointed and tired from sleeping on the ground all day or all night. We just went back to the hotel.
We did not sleep. It was like 10 minutes at a time. So yeah, we were like, let's go get into bed for a couple hours. Yeah. Because once the line started moving, it was like still 2 hours to the panel. We're like, we're going to go take a nap and then stream this from the hotel room. And that was a good idea.
Yeah. Despite all the confusion around how the lotteries and the lightspeed thing is going to work, I still prefer it over allowing people to do overnight lines, because that was not fun.
I agree.
Dazen Flores wants to know, what panels are we afraid to miss at Celebration? Well, I mean, I'm going into it assuming I'm not going to get into any panels, just so I don't end up disappointed. But I don't know, out of all the big panels, I really hope to be in the episode 9 panel, and also the Mandalorian, actually, I'm really looking forward to.
Yeah, like, I think that's the way to go with this lightspeed thing, is to just assume you're not going to get in the room. If you do, it's like a great treat. Mm-hmm. So I'm actually more worried about some of the smaller panels that won't be streamed or recorded, because those are things that, like, you can't get anywhere else. If we don't get into the room at episode 9, I'll watch it streamed. That doesn't really bother me.
That's true.
But, like, I really want to go to David W. Collins's The Music of the Phantom Menace, because he has the Soundtrack Show podcast I've mentioned a couple times, which is amazing. And I just asked him on Twitter if he was going to put that out on his podcast, and he was like, I don't know if I'll be able to. So, like, well, I want to be there in the room to watch that panel. And
yeah, and that's
what I'm worried about.
There's going to be a lot of publishing panels. Mm-hmm. Charles Soule is going to do a panel.
And he said it was, like, don't miss this. Now we're telling people all the panels that we want to go to, and people are going to crowd into them, and now I'm not going to get to go to them.
Well, there's some good news. It sounds like these rooms for the big panels are huge.
It does.
So even with the amount of people going, there will probably be a better chance of more people getting into the big panels than there were last time.
Yes, I think that is true.
So, I don't know. Try not to get your hopes up. But, yeah, again, like, all the big ones will be streamed, and you'll be able to watch them. If you're really, really excited to see, like, what's in store for the Clone Wars, I would say hope to get into that one, because they're probably going to show something.
I think that one's going to be streamed. I will,
but they won't stream what they show.
They won't. If they do an episode, they will not. When we went to the Rebels panel in 17, I think that was the only major panel we got into. They did show the first episode of season 4. So Resistance season 2, they might premiere an episode there. The Clone Wars, they might premiere an episode there. Mm-hmm. And those are two that it's like, well, I hope you're in the room. Yeah.
I don't think they'll premiere anything for The Mandalorian, because I assume those are going to be pretty long episodes, but I still think, we're going to get a lot of information out of that.
Yeah. But I just try to reiterate every time is that, like, we didn't see any of the major panels except for Rebels live. And I still had an amazing time at Celebration.
Yeah.
So,
well, we were at the Battlefront 2 panel.
Oh, yeah, that's true. I guess I meant, like, we didn't see The Last Jedi or the 40th anniversary. I don't think we saw anything on the Celebration stage.
Right.
The main stage.
Yeah. So. Jaden Stone asks if we think the Kira/Maul storyline set up in Solo will progress at all in the future, and if so, in what format? So we just watched Solo.
That's why I chose this question.
The other night, and at the end, I was like, they have to continue this story. Like,
Molly was like pounding on the couch, like, they better do it.
Game of Thrones is over. Emilia Clarke has nothing else to do.
I'm sure she has plenty of options, but they should snatch her up before she goes off and does some other franchise.
Yes. And, Ray Park, I'm sure, would be happy to reprise his role. And, yeah, they left that cliffhanger there, and I'm like, I'm dying to see more of it.
Ray keeps, like, Instagramming stuff of him doing very acrobatic stuff, like, which, I mean, he's known for that, so it's like, I don't want to read too much into it, but
yeah, he
keeps being, like, cagey about, like, training up, can't tell you why, and it's like, what you doing, Ray?
Yeah, he's a stunt performer for a lot of different things, and so he has to keep in shape for a lot of stuff, but he still does a lot of lightsaber training. And he does them on, like, his Instagram stories, and I'm like,
what's he doing?
What you doing?
But yes, I think that story will definitely be told. I think I said this almost a year ago when Solo, like, underperformed at the box office. It's like, that's kind of the great thing about Star Wars, is that they have all these different mediums that they tell stories in. And, if we don't get a sequel movie, they have so many other options. They're going to tell that story in either a streaming service show or a book or a comic. An audio drama is on the table now.
Yeah. I would like to see another show kind of like The Mandalorian, but it's all about all the different crime syndicates and, like, kind of like the underworld, and, like, have it start where Solo leaves off.
Yeah, I agree. That's it for patron questions. If you're a patron and you didn't see your question answered here, just head over to Patreon, where we left you a written response. If you're not a patron, you can learn more by following the link in the description. Just $1 a month gets you access to extra Star Wars explained content, like audio commentaries for the films and for the Clone Wars, and this week we released Storm over Ryloth. And, like I just mentioned, it gets you a guaranteed answer for your question every single week. So you can check that out right now if you're interested.
On to YouTube questions. Corey Austin Collins asks if we think Lando could appear in the second season of Star Wars Resistance.
I think it's very possible.
Yeah, sure.
He lent his voice to Star Wars Rebels. He does Lando's voice almost any time it pops up, even in, like, the Lego movie.
Yeah. When is season 2 supposed to come out?
We don't know. I would guess probably October.
Okay, so before episode 9.
That's my guess. They haven't said anything, but if we follow season 1's path, it'll come out in October, and then we'll have a mid-season break in December. Then episode 9 will come out. So I think Lando appearing is probably more likely in the second half of the season. But...
Yeah, I was going to say after episode 9 probably, because they want to maybe save his big entrance back into the storyline for the movie.
I agree.
Speaking of Lando in Resistance, another character that I kind of hope to see in Resistance is Maz.
Yeah.
That whole union dispute that we see her dealing with in The Last Jedi, I'm wondering if that is gonna show up in Resistance.
I think, yeah, that has potential. And at this point, I think I've said this before, I think that maybe they kind of bake animation voiceover into contracts of a lot of these actors, like Forrest Whitaker doing Saw Gerrera and Rebels right after Rogue One. Like, I kind of think that they're like, while we have you, why don't we just throw down a couple lines and get you into the show as well?
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it's very likely that we're going to see some film characters in Resistance more and more.
Trevin Pettigrew wants to know what Padme told people if they realized she was pregnant. Well, she could be like, maybe I am just bloated.
Just
maybe
slap them.
I just ate a big space burrito. Can you just not?
I mean, it's one of those things where it's like, shouldn't just ask someone that.
Yeah.
So maybe no one ever did.
Yeah. Unless it's super obvious. Maybe
and she was wearing a lot of flowing clothing.
Yeah, maybe don't assume women are pregnant.
But I do have kind of an answer to this, and it's one of those things where I think that people weren't supposed to know.
Yeah.
She's only wearing a couple outfits, like around Anakin, where it's like, oh, she's definitely pregnant. But Brian Young put forth this idea that people explained her pregnancy away to her experiences with Rush Clovis in season 6 of the Clone Wars. So maybe they were like, they knew that they had a bit of a past, and they didn't assume it was a member of the Jedi Order, so they were like, well, the time might match up when she was hanging out with Rush. So I think that's a possibility.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure people were like gossiping about it behind closed doors, but I don't know.
Who do you think was being real catty about it?
I don't know.
You think Mon Mothma? You think she's like real sassy behind closed doors?
She's like...
Or just Palpatine? You know what I heard.
Yeah. He's got his dealings all over the place, but really he's just all about the gossip.
Uh-huh. He just wants to control all the gossip in the galaxy.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like she just, I don't know, cut way back on her appearances, and like when she did have to show up to stuff again, like her big elaborate costume clothing could cover a lot of that up.
Yeah. I don't see that as like public information that most people knew.
Luke Berthelot asks where we think the main Star Wars comic will go after it catches up with The Empire Strikes Back.
I guess I kind of hope that it just keeps going.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's another movie after that one, you know.
I think it makes sense to keep exploring that time. It's something that never really got fleshed out even in Legends. Like we had Shadows of the Empire and a couple other stories, but there's a lot to still unpack. Uh-oh.
Maybe we'll get to see more of Luke building his green lightsaber.
Right. Like, that's something that we saw in Shadows of the Empire, but they're being kind of cagey about it in canon. Mm-hmm. And it's going to be different because synthetic lightsaber crystals aren't a thing anymore. And he built his crystal in Legends, in Shadows of the Empire. So it's got to be different. He's got to go find a kyber crystal. Mm. I still kind of like the idea that it's Qui-Gon's crystal that Obi-Wan kept.
Yeah.
But there's a story to be told there, and that's just one thing. So I think there's plenty that we can follow up on.
Yeah. Brandon Hancock wants to know if the Colossus in the Resistance is the same type of ship as Skystrike Academy, and was it an Imperial base?
I do think that it's meant to resemble Skystrike, and they kind of said as much in the Resistance Rewind behind the scenes things. But they also did say that they were trying to make it look distinct from Sky Strike. So I think they're similar, but not the exact same class of ship. I do still like the idea that it was an Imperial base of some sort.
Yeah.
And that maybe Doza just kind of took it. Because I think they did say that he defected before the war was over. So maybe he defected and ran away with his base. Maybe everyone on the base defected.
Yeah, could be.
So we don't know, but right now I'm kind of assuming that, yeah, it used to be Imperial.
Yeah. Josh Lakeberg asks if the main character of The Mandalorian could be related to Clan Vizsla.
Possibly, but I kind of hope no.
Yeah, I want him to be his own guy. Like,
that to me, that dips
guy.
a little too close into, like, not Chosen One territory, but like Aragorn, Return of the King. Like, you're part of this great bloodline and you're wasting your potential. Like, I'd rather him just be some dude.
Yeah. It's interesting. Some people were finding that the passes for celebration, like all the good characters are blue or green and all the bad guy characters are red, and the Mandalorian badge is red. So they're like, maybe he's kind of a bad guy at first, but
I could see that, an anti-hero.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm okay with that, but
yeah, I don't think he should be part of Clan Vizsla.
Yeah, I'd just prefer him to be his own guy. But we'll see.
Yeah, I do hope to see some familiar faces in the show, though, like Bo-Katan.
Yeah, we're still hoping, like, get Katie Sackhoff. Just bring her in. We love Katie.
Yeah.
Battlestar Galactica. So, yeah, let's bring in some familiar faces. There can be Clan Vizsla people out there. I guess I'm just like, not the main character.
Yeah. Katie Sackhoff is going to be at Celebration, assuming for the Clone Wars panel, but what if she walks out for the Mandalorian panel? That's why I want to go.
Yeah. That's all the time we have for questions today. If you want to leave a question for next week's video, just put it in the comments below or sign up for Patreon to join our weekly Q&A discussion. If you haven't already, please like this video, subscribe to the channel.
Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook.
And as always, thanks for watching, and may the Force be with you.